one we're going to talk about trailers. There's a couple of different trailer options and then options within the trailer as well. So this is just going to be a rough idea of how the trailers work. Basically you have a car hauler trailer that's like this, just flat. You also have a gooseneck style that would be like this, and then it would be like a fifth wheel, or a gooseneck is what they call it. This is a bumper pull. This would hook to the bumper of the truck or vehicle, you know, let's say like this, so way out here. And then your fifth wheel style or gooseneck would go above that wheel, so then your truck would be like this, something like that, right? Let's do that. So then that would attach. And this can haul more weight because the weight distribution is above that axle, or maybe sometimes it's in front of it, but it's usually distributed right over that axle, where this is way on the back of the truck, so that it gets really heavy on the back of that truck, way beyond the axles, way back here. So this is usually, we go up to about 30 feet with a bumper pull style, and this you can go 40, 44 feet, something like that with a fifth wheel, maybe longer depending on some circumstances, but you know, something like that. And then within these styles you have you know, a car hauler style, or like a deck over. So like a low boy, this is where you get your fenders in here, so your wheels would split and they would go up on top there. Or a deck over. A lot of goosenecks or fifth wheel styles are deck overs where the tires are actually all the way under. So there's not really any wheel wells to deal with on the inside, and that's why people like that too. Actually, they like that style a little bit more because they don't have these fenders. Because when you build this up on these fenders, you know, you got your house here. Let's say it's like this, something like that, real quick. This fender ends up to be on the interior wall space. You have to frame around that, and you know, it's kind of a nuisance. A lot of times people will hide it underneath the couch or the staircase, or they'll build something in over the top of it, so you don't really notice it very much. Deck overs are great because you have a flat surface on the entire thing, so that whole surface is all flat and you can build right on it. But you lose some head height because this whole deck is going to be, let's say, 30 inches off the ground from the top of this deck down to the ground, where this top of this deck here is going to be more like 21 inches or 20 inches off the ground from there, because that deck is lower. And when you lower this deck, you get more head height. Because remember, we only have about 13 foot 6 inches up here at this tallest point from the ground. So if we can lower the deck height down, we can bring more building into that space, basically. So a lot of people go like this, and then there's drop axles. So there's standard axles that go straight through, and then there's drop axles. There's an option, so then that deck gets even lower, which gives you a little bit more fender on the inside, but your deck is lower, which gives you more height on the inside. So there's some of that happening. And a lot of, you know, this works really well with a fifth wheel style, deck over fifth wheel, because then people will put their bedrooms up in this area with a, you know, maybe about 3 or 4 steps, something like that. So this works really well, or maybe they'll put the bathroom up there or something. But that works really well too, to put the bedroom up here. But you end up with this height from this here still can only be 13 foot 6. So depending on how high this is on the truck, the bottom of this deck here is what you can get here. So that could be only 5 or 6 feet too. So it's still going to be lower. Still going to be lower than standing height sometimes, based on the design. But you can use that, and you'd still be fairly comfortable walking around up inside there. So that's kind of a quick trailers. There's a bumper pull style. There's a gooseneck or fifth wheel style, and then there's, you know, standard car hauler or low boy, deck over, which would be more like this. Deck goes over the tires, and that's basically your scenarios. Some of them, there's also a different style of axle, like a fish house axle. So these actually can lift up, so they would lift up, and then the trailer itself would fall all the way to the ground, which is great for getting in. It doesn't necessarily add a lot to the height because when you're traveling, you still lift this up, and it still needs to be below that 13'6", but you'd get it as far as, you know, a step out here. And this is good for older people or retirees or people who have maybe they're in a wheelchair, they need some wheelchair access or just a little bit easier time to get into. These fish house axles that flip up, drop that down, and you can just put a little ramp out there, maybe 6 or 8 inches to get up into the building, which is really great. And then you have a wheelchair accessible door, or, you know, however that's going to work for like an ADA situation. Well, but that's trailers in a nutshell. The axles can be different axles. A lot of times there's a 5,200 pound axle or a 7,000 pound axle. And then you can add those up. So like if you have 5, 5, and 5, you have a 15,000 pound gross vehicle weight, or a weight rating basically. You do have to factor in the weight of the trailer in that. You upgrade these. As this trailer gets longer, you can upgrade this to 7K axles all the way across. So then that's 21,000 pounds minus the weight of the trailer itself. Usually it's going to be about 20,000 pounds. The trailer's going to weigh something for sure. But, you know, most tiny houses are about 500 pounds per linear foot. So if you have a 20-foot tiny house, it's probably going to weigh 10,000 pounds. And this is a general number. This is not a specific number. It does depend on your appliances, how many appliances you have in there. Battery bank, because batteries are fairly heavy. If you do a laminate floor or a hardwood floor, depending on how thick your wall material is, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that weight of 500 pounds per foot. But that's, you know, give or take. So if you do, let's say you're going to do a 30-foot trailer, 30-foot trailer at 500 pounds, that's 15,000 pounds, right? So would I want to go with 3 5,000 pound axles? I would not, because I might max those out and that would be scary. I would always do the 7,000 pound axles, get up to about 21 or 20,000 pounds. Then I have an extra 5,000 pounds to not worry about, you know, getting pulled over or the axles not being able to support the weight. I always overload or underload the axles, overbuild the trailer to what I think it's going to be, because it's the best plan. You know, you're going to fill these up with, there's a lot of wood, a lot of heavy things in there. Maybe a water container, all that stuff. Water is about 8 pounds a gallon. So if you have a 100-pound, water tank at 8 pounds a gallon, that's 800 pounds of water in there, just water alone. So, you know, as you fill these up, they get pretty heavy, and you definitely want to go with the heavy-duty axle, pretty much in every single case. I like to overload the axle, or overbuild the axle, so then make sure that the house is safe and secure and can be traveled down the road. There's another thing too, is the vehicle that can haul this. So let's say your house is going to be 15,000 pounds. This vehicle, not every vehicle can haul 15,000 pounds. So you'll have to understand your gross vehicle towing rating too, of your vehicle. You know, a 1-ton truck or a dually can't always haul that actually legally. So check into what the vehicle can haul, along with how heavy the trailer is, because those two combined equal a total weight, and then, you know, that's based on how that vehicle can haul it. I think in this rambling, I think that's all about trailers. If I have anything else, I'll update the video, or if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. I can make another video and just post it below this one. Not a big deal.